to another episode of Drinking with Geeks. I'm Roz.
And I'm Matt, and this week we're looking at the Brandy Alexander.
If you've seen some of our other videos, you know that the history of a lot of these classic cocktails is pretty much the same, in that they aren't really quite sure where or when or who invented it, but we have a pretty good idea of some of the better stories. And in the case of the Brandy Alexander, it's probably around 1922. Although who the Alexander is, it could be a little bit debated.
So it's possible that up to now you've avoided trying a Brandy Alexander either because, thinking it's not like a real cocktail or it's a girly cocktail. And I've got two things to say to that. First, don't let outmoded gender stereotypes influence your choice of alcoholic beverage. A good drink is a good drink. Doesn't matter how much juice or sweet stuff is in it. As long as it's well made, it's good. Second, it was the favorite drink of none other than John Lennon, according to Wikipedia. Yeah, so take it with a grain of salt, or more preferably a sprinkle of nutmeg, and let's talk about the science.
So the Brandy Alexander is a cocktail that includes dairy, and in this case, we like to use cream. You can use different kinds of percentages of fat in your cocktail, but one of the things that it's going to help you to do is going to generate a really silky texture. The fat in the drink is also going to help to coat your tongue. It decreases your perception of alcohol in the drink, and it also helps to retain some of the flavor compounds along your surface of your tongue. So you're really going to taste your cocktail.
So with that awesome science tidbit, let's get to drink making. One of the great things about Brandy Alexanders is how easy they actually are to make, because they're just 3 ingredients in a simple 1:1:1 ratio. So first things first, we want to get our ice in the shaker. Our first ingredient is cream. As you can see here, we're using whipping cream. That's because for some reason in Vancouver, I can never find heavy cream. I don't know if it's a Canadian thing, how we call stuff or whatever, but whipping cream is usually what you'll find in this fat range. Our second ingredient is creme de cacao. You can see here we've got the clear version, although online you'll often see in recipes for the Brandy Alexander that it calls for brown creme de cacao. It doesn't really make a difference with flavor, it's just a visual thing. This will do just fine, which is good because it's all I could find in our liquor stores. And the third ingredient in your Brandy Alexander, as you might suspect, is brandy. We're doing 2 different versions today. One with an inexpensive, just plain French brandy, more or less bottom shelf. I mean, there's probably cheaper stuff, but not many. And then we're also gonna do a version using a nice XO cognac. And really, we just wanna see, especially once you have the cream and everything in there, are you really tasting enough of a difference that it's worth the fact that this bottle is half the size of this one, yet still more expensive? We'll see. Then we shake well. The second strainer is just to remove tiny little ice chips and ensure a nice smooth surface to the drink. Really, it's not a necessary step. I just like to do it for the demonstration. And finally, you want to garnish your Brandy Alexander with a nice little bit of fresh ground nutmeg.
Which one are you tasting?
I've got the one with cognac that I made, and so I guess you then have the regular plain old St. Remy's brandy.
But if there's anything that we've discovered making cocktails with our, lower end alcohol, sometimes the flavor of a great cocktail makes it so that that part doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, you never want to go super cheap with your alcohol because you still need those good base flavors, but you also don't need the most intensely complex spirit because you will lose some of those flavors in the rest of the cocktail. Another thing to note is that when we're making these at home, we don't use cognac, we just use the inexpensive brandy because we're cheap and cognac is just too darn expensive. But, for a special occasion like filming a video for YouTube, you bust out the good stuff. Cheers.
These smell amazing.
Oh my god, they taste amazing too.
Delightful.
Yeah. They are a little bit of a dessert drink. I'm not gonna say that on the same night that I'm feeling, a Manhattan, I'm also going to be like, am I choosing between a Manhattan or a Brandy Alexander? No. You're not going to want them for the same times, but if you've had a dinner, a nice cocktail to go with your dessert, it's a little bit sweet.
Or as your dessert?
Yep, it also can be your dessert because it's just sweet enough. It's chocolatey, it's rich. The nutmeg just, makes it fantastic.
They're a treasure in the cocktail cabinet. Mm-hmm.
They're nice and light after dinner. They're not nearly as heavy as you would think they would be, considering they do have your full fat cream in them. I've heard stories in the past about Brandy Alexanders being made by like essentially adding brandy to melted ice cream or crazy things like that, which might taste good for the first couple sips, but it's going to be horrible and give you a hangover, and it's not a good drink. And this should not be anywhere near that sweet. The only sugar in it really is coming from the creme de cacao, which is, of course, sweet as a liqueur.
And the milk sugars, but those don't really add a sweetness to it.
I mean, cream is ever so slightly sweet, but doesn't really contribute that much in terms of sweet taste.
You know, the alcohol really still comes through, though. Like, it certainly warms you up. Like, this would be a great winter drink. It's
chilled, so it's not like a nog or anything for a winter drink. But I think this is good for all times, but an evening for sure.
Okay, taste that one, because I gotta say, the fancy stuff is making a big difference.
Yeah, the fancy stuff makes a huge difference. Okay, this time.
Okay, we lied.
Fancy stuff is definitely nicer here, but that is still damn good.
This is still just lovely. It's beautiful, it's light, it's sweet, the alcohol has that burn with the flavors are really nice in there. This is still a lovely cocktail. This is fantastic still, and I wouldn't have known any different if I hadn't also tried that one.
Just, essentially, if you're making the drink at home for yourself, go with your inexpensive brandy. If you're making it for a cocktail party or to show off, or just money is no object, definitely go with the cognac. Turns out,
treat yourself.
It makes a difference.
Wow, that one's got it's a flavor explosion of delicious.
Yep. And with that explosion, I think we shall bid the internet adieu and finish with our... Do you like how I had the French there? Because it's brandy and all French and stuff, and we're classy.
You will feel classy AF with a Brandy Alexander.
Salud.